Hello, this is Nigel at Weather Wars International. Had to get that right. And I am here with the founder of Weather Wars International. And this is the 30th of August, 2019, which happens to be a very special date for Weather Wars International. And so I would like to introduce to you Rick Duarte, and he will explain a lot more for you. Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. Good evening, Nigel. How you doing, Kiwi?
Very good. I just put one note in here, and that is that there is a little bit of a lag sometimes on the recording because of distance or internet speed or whatever. And so just if anyone's watching this or when people are watching this, just be patient, and we'll sort it out as it goes. Rick.
Okay, good show. Got it. Okay, good. So tonight's show has to do with Weather Wars International reaching its 3rd anniversary, which officially began on September 1st, 2016. Now, the reason we're doing this show is because I find it, in my personal humble opinion, it's a monumental achievement that we've actually endured, let's say, 3 years, through a lot of adversity, especially with a lot of suppression from Facebook and from YouTube. But here we are, we still survive, and we're still doing well. Now, I'm going to cover a few different subjects here. It'll probably take about 10-15 minutes or so. It might take longer. I like to tell stories, and I like to embellish them as well too. So just bear with me. They're all great details, and the whole purpose is to inform all our members of really the history of Weather Wars International since its birth, during its growth period, and where it's going to go on in the future. Okay, so let's start off with the beginning. Now, personally myself, I come on board with Facebook in June of 2011. And of course, like most people, I just thought it was a social media site where you can just connect with friends that you know or would like to get to know. So that's where it started. So I had brothers, sisters, friends from high school, friends from college, that sort of thing. So that's where that started. Then I started looking at some of the posts that people were putting out there. other than the friends and family, right? And it started opening up my eyes a little bit. And what I started noticing was, oh, chemtrails? What are chemtrails, right? Just like everybody else, you come on board, what are chemtrails? So I started paying attention to that, and I said, that's interesting. I've noticed those skies before myself, which weren't the same skies we had during the 60s and the 70s, because I was a lawn and landscaper. So I paid attention to the weather, and I noticed, those trails in the sky. I said, okay, let me see if I can find out more information about this. So I just kept plugging away. I didn't know what to expect. So I kept on plugging away. I got more information, gathered more information. So yeah, okay, so now I started an album on my personal website, which had to do with chemtrails, chemplanes, which I call weapons of mass destruction, and chemtrails, which I call toxic skies. So I kept a catalog of some of those pictures and some of those articles and some of those videos. Okay, that's good. Now, over the course of time, and like I said, this began in 2011, over the course of the time, I realized that this is part of geoengineering, which is modification of the environment. Okay? Okay, good. Now, in 2014, I started another album on my personal website, which had to do with geoengineering. Okay, that's good. Now I've accumulated more information on chemtrails, chemplanes, and geoengineering, how they were actually manipulating the environment, which also included HAARP in there as well too. Okay, good. Now, after a couple months, I had a cognition. The cognition was, this is not only geoengineering, this is actually weather warfare. Because if you take a look at it, it's not only weather warfare on our planet and the environment, but it's actually weather warfare against the population,
Sure.
and against other nations. So the cognition led to going from geoengineering to evolving to weather wars. Okay, and that was in the summer of 2016. Now I started amassing all this information, and of course there were pictures, there were videos, there were articles, and after about 6 weeks, you and I had been friends for a number of years at that particular point. And one day, which was August 31st of 2016, you contacted me. I don't know if it was in a chat or something like that, or it was a telephone call. It was probably in the chat box. You said to me, why don't you start a website which addresses these weather wars that are going on across the planet?
Yep.
And right off the top of my head, I just shoo-shooed that one. I said, no, I'm too busy for that stuff. I'm covering so much territory, I don't have time to, start a website. Good Lord, no. Well, little did I know, you planted a seed. And I went to bed that night, and I had a hard time going to sleep. I honestly did. And the next morning, I woke up and I said, damn it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start Weather Wars, which, a few months later evolved to Weather Wars International as I increased it in scope. So on October 31st, you planted the seed. On September 1st, 2016, Weather Wars International was born. Now, it first started off with just you and me, because you and I were the only ones who really knew what the hell was going on. And then, of course, I invited a few friends that I thought would be interested. They joined. You invited some friends as well, too, and they joined. So, all told, I don't know how many people we had at that particular time. It was
those early days, it was only like we were looking at, I remember at 20, 30, and we were going, oh yeah. and then it was up to like a couple of hundred, and we're going, well, this is better.
Exactly. We actually thought it was amazing that we reached 100. We were, and that was kind of mind blowing. It's like, oh, okay, we're gaining a little popularity here, because people on their own were coming on board. The people we invited were inviting other people. They were coming on board. So it was growing,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. Now, things were moving along rather nicely, progressing really well with new members coming on board. They were liking our post. They were liking they were putting comments in there. And more importantly, they were sharing the information with others, which is really nice. That's the important part. you may know something, but if you don't share that information with others, it's basically useless knowledge. That's my viewpoint. But anyway, so we were going along rather nicely there from September until November when you opened up your big mouth. I had to say that.
I'm still getting stick for it.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. So on November 4th, Nigel draws my attention to a post that he put up, which had to do with his prediction for an earthquake in New Zealand. Okay? Now, you may want to talk about that a little bit. That was on November 4th. Now, he predicted that earthquake a week in advance of it actually happened. So, Nigel, I want you to take over here and tell them a little bit. This made international news. It was incredible. But I want you to tell the story from your viewpoint of what actually transpired here, and then I'll take over when you're finished.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll keep it brief. But I mean, I just put it up, and many of the people watching this video will remember that post, and it really just started out saying "heads up," saying "heads up." Something about there's going to be an earthquake, within 7 days or something like this. And anyway, and make sure you have.
Had to do with a full moon.
Yeah,
had to do with a full.
Yeah, and it, if you have bags of rice, you got your supplies, and
right.
That actually was in the post. And yeah, my prediction, the word prediction is a very misleading kind of word, really, because what I had been looking at for weeks at that particular time was the fact that there was a full moon coming up, and that the moon is influenced by, influences the Earth as evident by the tides of the oceans and so on, and it increases the gravitational pull. So that was happening, and on top of that, I had been doing a lot of work with my group, which was at the time Weather Modification Watch New Zealand, and which we later changed the name. But I had been observing a lot of electromagnetic frequencies being used over New Zealand at the time, and I mean like a lot, like heavy quantities daily, and so I thought something's going down here, something's happening, and I was watching this, and I just thought, nah, this is going to cook something's going to break here. And I saw the full moon was coming up, and that's why I put the post out. And it was just really a post to my friends. And I didn't know it was going to go viral, and it did, and it just went nuts. And I'm like, look at how many people are looking at this thing. It's just going nuts. And more and more people were sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. And next thing it went viral. And so then when the earthquake happened, again, I don't know how the mainstream media got hold of this. I have no idea how they suddenly latched onto this, because somebody else had predicted something about the same time, some Canadian kind of guy, and yet his story wasn't picked up, mine was, and so the international media, we had the Daily Mail, we had Australian things, we had New Zealand media. I had an interview here in this very room from one local media. I had Maori television trying to contact me. I didn't even want to talk to half of them because I just knew it was going to get twisted. And even the one that I did report on got manipulated and twisted and so forth. And so anyway, that was basically it. And it just went. And when when the earthquake happened, I took 3 days off work just to handle the traffic that was coming in on this computer,
Right.
with new people joining the member, joining the group, and my membership went up to 31,500 roughly.
Right.
And since then it's dwindled down. It's like 24,000 or something now. But yeah, that was really kind of what happened. But as I say, going back to that word prediction, it was predicted from known information, and it's like, well, let's give you a silly example. It's like, you keep poking the dog with a stick, and in other words, you can predict that he's going to snap back soon. And he's going to either bite the stick or he's going to bite you. And it was kind of knowingness. It's like, there was all this EMF in the sky, and it's got to go somewhere. Something's going to break. Something's going to happen. And that it was as simple as that, really.
Yeah, exactly. Now, on November 14th, 2016, I know there was a magnitude 7.8, which is a major earthquake anywhere on the planet. But where exactly again in New Zealand did that happen?
It was in Kaikoura, which is Kaikoura. Spelling is one of my better points. Yeah, so Kaikoura, it's on the coast just up from Christchurch, basically in the South Island.
Okay. Now, was there significant damage or any deaths or injuries involved in that?
I know of at least one man dying.
Okay.
There was quite a bit of damage. There was a lot of heavy road damage along the coast, because there's a main highway that goes right up there, and they spent gazillions of money putting that highway back in, but because the whole mountainside collapsed onto the road, basically.
Gotcha.
Because the ocean is there, and then it's basically, kind of vertical from the ocean, in a lot of places there. There's not a very high population in Kaikoura, it's a smaller sort of area. And so that probably contributed to the lesser damage and the lesser, not so many deaths involved and so on. But interestingly enough, at the time, there just happened to be a US Coast Guard off the coast, just by chance, just pure coincidence, of course.
Of course. You know, we're talking about that earthquake.
And Hillary Clinton emails, was there was one email that went off something like, it went off as planned.
Exactly, and I've got a copy of that as well too.
Yeah,
I really do. And a lot of Freeland actually covered that in her book, Chemtrails, HAARP, and the full
spectrum
dominance of Earth. She covered that in there as well too. So it's all documented as far as that goes. Now, what I wanted to say about that earthquake in Kaikoura, on how that road travels, around from the sea, up through the mountains where it rises of the mountains of Kaikoura. That's very similar to Pacific Coast Highway in California, especially around the Los Angeles area. Okay, right. Where it runs right along the coastline, but above it, you have, the mountains.
I've seen it in the movies.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So, to take over from where you left off, that was the first major explosion for Weather Wars International. We went from a few hundred members to literally, I really think we added, over the course of days, it was relentless. I was approving members left and right. I couldn't keep up with it. But I feel assured that we added over 10,000 new members in a short period of time, probably within a week's period of time.
Right.
So, we go from a couple hundred to over 10,000. Yeah, we got something here, okay? So people are paying attention. They're not only paying attention to, the Kokora earthquake, but now they're paying attention to other weather warfare type of events as well, too.
Yeah.
Now, so that's a little bit of the history. Now, the second part of the history that I want to bring up here is the second major explosion to our membership. And that second major explosion, and I can't give you I could probably give you the year. It was sometime in the fall, which is in the United States, the fall in the United States, August, September of 2017. We started getting wildfires like crazy here in the United States. And what I discovered was these weren't any ordinary wildfires. These were directed energy weapons wildfires, which are actually caused by man. You can take a look. I'm not going to elaborate on the whole thing, but, our military, United States government, we know how to literally reduce homes to ashes without burning the tree. Okay, so that was it. So that caused another major explosion. I would say we probably garnered another 7,000 or something like that in new members as far as that goes. So between the earthquake in Kokora, New Zealand, and the directed energy weapon fires in California in 2017, which continued into a little bit of 2018 as well too, that's where the majority of our membership came. And subsequently, that's evolved, from 2 people on September 1st, 2016 to over 22,000 here on our anniversary, September 1st, 2019. Okay? And I do want to put a plug into our members, especially the ones who have held with us for the past 3 years. There's a lot of appreciation that goes out to you because of your loyalty, and I just wanted to acknowledge you for doing that. And for the new members, I hope you hold on board, because I have a feeling here things are just beginning to ramp up. They're going to get a little bit more exciting, and I don't mean that in a roller coaster side. On the roller coaster side of things, I just think, honestly, things are going to get a little bit worse. I really do. I don't mean to be pragmatic or cynical by any means. I just want to be truthful. That's all. Okay, so enough of that as far as that goes. I'm going to do a little bit of wrap from my end. Then we'll go on to a little discussion here with you, Kiwi. But I'd like to acknowledge, aside from yourself, Kiwi, who helped me quite a bit there, I'd like to acknowledge 3 people who've been instrumental in furthering my knowledge on this whole aspect of geoengineering and weather warfare. First and foremost is Alana Freeland. She's a best-selling author of several books, one of which I got a copy of, and I read from cover to cover and gave book reviews on. And that book was published in 2014. And Alana's book was known as Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. So a big yahoo and shout out to her. The next is Billy Hayes. Billy Hayes is known as the Heart Man. He was a HARP engineer. He built hundreds of these HARP facilities, not only here in the there's only one in the United States, but he built several of them, in European countries, including Russia as well, too. So he has a lot of knowledge as far as it goes. And I spoke to him once or twice over the phone and got a lot more details from him, which I won't expound upon now, but he really opened my mind. And as far as how HARP could be used to manipulate the weather.
I'd like to point out, Rick, that when you're mentioning Billy Hayes, is that it's probably important for people to realise that while he was an engineer for the HARP facilities and so forth, he has later, been a whistleblower on all of the damage and so forth, and been a great help in exposing what is going on. Anyway, so
that's exactly.
Continue.
Yeah, and that's a good point. The other point is I like to bring up, because of his work on these HARP facilities, because of the electromagnetic waves that are emitted from them, it's really decimated his body. So he has several health problems. How he's managed to survive this long, I'll never know. But the guy's in and out of the hospital, every week. The guy's just ferocious as far as living goes.
He's a survivor, that's for sure.
Oh my God, he is. And so we got a lot of Freeland, Billy Hayes, and then whether this person is male or female or not, I have no idea. This person went incognito for years, but this person is known as Weather War 101. And this opened up a whole new chapter in weather modification, as far as I'm concerned, okay? Not only was the U.S. military involved with weather modification, but Weather War 101 also showed there was another aspect to this as well, too. And it had to do with the power plants, not only in the United States, which there's some 7,000, but there's over 60,000 worldwide. We talk about power plants, electricity, coal, nuclear, that actually produced water vapor, okay? They off-gas water vapor as a part of the process in order to keep the plants cool. So when this water vapor enters into the atmosphere, they form cumulus clouds.
Yep.
Well, cumulus clouds capture particles in the atmosphere. They have a capacity to only hold so much of those particles, then it rains. So the power plants were actually used to create torrential flooding, not only here in the United States, but in Europe and beyond as well, too. So, that pretty much that's as far as the acknowledgments goes. We'll go into it.
You there?
Then we'll go ahead and continue this. Yeah, what I said. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please repeat just what you said in the last sentence.
Okay, I'm pretty much finished here. What I'd like you to do is hit the pause button, and I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, here we are. We're back on, and and so now we're celebrating with Weather Wars International 3rd anniversary, and with Rick and Nigel.
Good.
So I wanted to a couple of points actually. You mentioned about the power stations being a factor in weather modification.
Yeah.
and it made me think, you know, and I, you know, I've pointed this out a few times, but there are quite a few coal-fired plants, power plants in New South Wales. I think there's about 5 or 6 of them, and they produce a considerable amount of steam, and that has for quite some time periodically been used as cloud for New Zealand, cloud cover for New Zealand.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, I mean, you just watch it form there, and the currents are favourable for it being for it coming to New Zealand. But additionally, I have seen very, very often the telltale electromagnetic frequency signs in the rain radar and so forth, showing that there is weather modification being applied, technology being applied to those clouds to move them over New Zealand. And so a lot of our weather is produced in Australia.
Exactly. So, you know, for a point of clarification, so people understand, if they look up in the sky, you know, and they take a look at a cloud, well, to them, the majority of people don't know what electrical magnetic waves do to the clouds in the sky. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but what electromagnetic waves do to the clouds, a cumulus cloud, is they break it up and create wavy patterns in the sky, okay? So it looks like ripples in a stream.
Well, I will correct you on that. That you're correct on that, because you will see ripples, and a lot of, you know, that is frequent, the ripples. But there is another one that that is basically 2 angles like that, and you will also see it as a zigzag, like you know, repeated that pattern, zigzag pattern,
Right.
And that is quite common to look up and see that, not all over the sky, but just sporadically here and there, and so and that's another sign, and of course that is the water molecules in the cloud moving to the vibration of the electromagnetic frequencies, which are being broadcast on a triangular wave basis.
That's correct. That's very good. That's very good. Okay, I wasn't fully aware of it. That's good to know. But you know, you were talking about, what would you call it? Sawtooth? Sawtooth, right?
Yeah, sawtooth wave. Yeah. Now, well, there's actually 2. There's 2. There's a sawtooth, and there's also a triangular. Right? There's 2 different waves here. Sawtooth.
Okay.
Sawtooth is it goes up on an angle and then goes straight down. Up on an angle, straight down. Whereas triangular goes up on an angle, down on an angle, up on an angle, down on an angle. You'll see both of those though. But
interesting.
I will take a little bit of credit here, because I am the only one that I know of that actually pointed out that similarity in what we see in the clouds with those particular wavelengths.
Yeah, I agree with you, because
I'm the only person who ever said it.
I never knew that until you started presenting the video evidence of that. And I said to myself, what the hell is he talking about? And the more I listened to your video presentations and seeing the evidence, I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it makes even more sense now that you've gone in a little bit more detail. I fully got it upstairs. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, to begin with, you could go, oh, yeah, that's just some kind of crazy idea that Nigel's got. And, you know, but when you start looking at it and, you know, watching, and you see this, and you see you see whole lines of this zigzag and so forth, and I may not have all the scientific fancy terms or anything like that. I don't care. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm trying to present what is there and communicate it in a way it can be understood. And
Exactly.
there's a very good music video which I have posted numbers of times. It's on YouTube by a guy called Nigel Stanford, and it's not because his name's Nigel that I like it, but Nigel Stanford, and his music, the song is called Cymatics, I think it's called, Cymatics, and you'll probably remember this one, but it's a video where he plays music and he shows the effect of that music on water, on steam, and on
Not. Hey, listen. After we finish up here tonight, send that to me. I had not seen that one. No, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I like the video, and a couple of times I posted it, and people said, "Well, I've seen that, but where's your when are you going to send me the information showing how electromagnetic frequencies affects water?" And I'm like, "Well, I just did," and they're like, "Oh, I must have missed that link," and I'm like, is this guy joking or what? And it's like some people it just goes in one ear and out the other. They just don't see it.
It went right over their head.
But yeah, I'll send you the link for that. But it's just real simple, and it just shows how sound can influence. And I go back to, and I've repeated this so many times, but the classic example is a boombox car stereo, and it goes past your place, and it's driving past and go boom, 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 and
Right.
next thing your windows start vibrating, and that is an example of a sound wave actually creating physical movement externally from the source.
Right.
It's how, actually, by the way, it's actually how loudspeakers work.
That's correct. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
So,
okay, what else were you?
There was, I had another question for you, actually, and that is that you posted a link about this New Zealand's weather for the next 6 weeks and what is happening on that. And apparently, because the stratosphere has warmed somewhere over the Antarctic area, and knowing that the technology to warm the stratosphere exists and is patented and is being used, would you suspect that this stratospheric warming of the Antarctic, which is going to cause bad weather for New Zealand for the next 6 weeks, could be man-made? That's my question. So partly sarcastic, I guess, because I have a preconceived idea myself, but
yeah, well, it's like you already know the answer, which is kind of obvious. Let me start this story. Let's go back a little over maybe a week or 10 days ago. Both you and I posted information with regards to the stratosphere in Antarctica warming up, which is way above unusual. It's only happened twice in history over the past 60 years or 6 decades that the scientists that have been able to monitor the weather above Antarctica. Okay, so this is only on the second time. Now, we both posted that information, like I said, 7 to 10 days ago. Well, last night, and this is on Stuff, by the way, where I got this information from.
Yep.
And I try to check every day because that's information I can gather from y'all down under, okay? And I came across that, and I said, oh my God, that's incredible. Now, what had happened was the anomaly of the stratospheric heating over Antarctica was dramatic. When I say dramatic, the stratosphere is above, we're talking about somewhere in the range of over 50,000 feet. Okay?
Yeah, 50K.
Okay, 50 Ks, which is 60, 70,000 miles, into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And what it was, and I wasn't dumbfounded. I was a little bit startled. Now I really grasped the significance of this heating over Antarctica in the stratosphere. The post that I put out there is the heating of the stratosphere was 60 centigrades above normal, which is 140 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. That's incredible. That's in the stratosphere. If you were to give something comparable, that's like 140 degrees or 60 degrees centigrade in New Zealand in the summer. Yeah. You just can't live under the circumstances outdoors. You just can't. It'll cook you. That's what ovens or stoves are for. And I really grasped the significance of it. I said, this is astounding. So, does planet Earth do that all by herself? Like I said, you know the answer as well as I do. Nope. And the reason I say no is because it is man-made. There's no doubt about it. You can't raise this temperature of the stratosphere 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit without some sort of human intervention. And here we have HARP-type facilities that actually can induce that heat into the stratosphere. They've been doing that for years. That is well known. If you don't know that, check out the videos I posted here with regarding to HARP on how they can control the stratosphere. Now, the other point I'd like to make is, well, how come they're doing that in the Antarctica? Well, there's a lot of speculation why they're doing it from Antarctica, but I can tell you there's a number of nations that have military bases down in Antarctica, and one of which, of course, is New Zealand, Australia, and the United States. And the main, the main base, military base for Antarctica is in Mordo Bay, okay? And that leads to us into a lot of other, stories that I don't want to go into at this particular time dealing with, and I'll leave it blank. But there's a reason we're down there, and it's not only to control the weather.
Yeah.
But, that's astounding. So, in continuing with the article on how that stratospheric warming is going to affect New Zealand, well, you can expect it. If you're gonna heat up the stratosphere, it's got to go somewhere. And the only two countries or continents that it's going to affect is Australia and New Zealand. And New Zealand is a hell of a lot closer to the Antarctic than Australia. So, yeah, you're going to go through at least 6 weeks of some very interesting weather. And when I say very interesting, I think you might see not only a significant amount of snow, but I have a gut feeling you're going to see blizzards like you've never seen before in your entire life. That's my gut feeling. Okay? Whether that comes true or not, I don't know. But that would be an interesting prediction as well. But go ahead, please.
Sure. From what I've seen over the last couple of weeks and so forth, is that I have a feeling also that this weather will be unusual in another respect, and that is that while we get blizzards one day, the next day we might have 17-degree temperature or something.
Right.
I think we'll be seeing extremes, like one day it's beautiful and sunny and the next day it's freezing type thing. I think we're going to get we have been getting that kind of thing lately.
Well, you know what? You need to keep me as well as our Weather War International members aware of what's going on. Okay? Because it doesn't, if you see these extremes,
I try my best.
you need to let us know. Because if I go over to stuff for the New Zealand Herald, I don't get the information that you have. It's not only you, but other members that are from New Zealand. If you see these anomalies going on in the weather, like what you said, you go from blizzards one day to something like fall on the other. The next day you have tremendous snowfall. Then you have nice weather. I need to know about that stuff. Everybody needs to know about that. Okay, so you got to keep on top of it.
Now, there's we'll probably wrap this up pretty soon because it's getting to be quite a long video. But there's one other question I wanted to sort of throw at you, and it is a little twister really, but that is this: is that given that this pretty much what we've had so far that I can see of this winter and what's coming has, and when I say winter, I put that in quote marks. because all of what we've had so far and what's coming, as far as I can tell, has been man-made, which poses the interesting question of what would we have had without that? And my answer that I keep coming up with is no winter. And that's a strange answer. But it appears to be the answer that I'm getting, in this situation. And so, putting all of that together for myself, I've talked with you before about this solar minimum thing that's sort of going on, and I don't discount that possibility. It looks quite real that that's happening because it's based on the decreasing number of sunspots, which is real.
Right.
And so the question is then, what is the reason, what is the purpose behind this weather modification? Is it some mad frickin' scientist, which we know they're mad, attempt to keep cloud cover and keep New Zealand from being roasted, dried out, or whatever, or is it some economic thing, or what? And I'm not expecting you to give the exact answer on that, but maybe your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I don't have an exact answer. My answer would be one purely from speculation, and I'm really not one to speculate. But from the time you and I became friends, I really started paying attention to what's going on in New Zealand. Okay, now obviously over the past 5 years or so, I've seen a lot of weather events go on in New Zealand. Well, what I've noticed over the course of the 5 years, New Zealand really hasn't had any really significant winter events. And especially this year, you're almost out of the end of winter. You're ready to head into spring here. What, in the next 6 weeks or so?
Oh, and about to. We're already in it. I mean, there are flowers, there are daffodils out there blooming right now.
Okay. Then you explained it to me. what I've noticed is you guys really haven't had a winter this year.
No.
So, yeah, it's obvious to me your weather's been manipulated. Now, for what reason or for what purpose? I can't tell you, Kiwi. It might be part of. No, I'm not even going to go into that. I could discuss that for another half an hour, but
It's
anyway,
kind of one
I don't
of
know.
those watch this space.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But I found it particularly unusual that New Zealand really hasn't had a winter this year. No,
I
they
find
really
that kind of
haven't.
scary, actually. To me, it's quite freaky.
Yeah, and I'd be aware, come this spring and summer, let's see what the weather provides for you. Whether you're going to get no spring with no rains, are you going to have a dry summer? I don't know. But these are things you should be aware of because this is a similar scenario that went on here in the United States, but within particular areas within the United States. Some states, sections of the United States dried up. Some were just totally inundated with winter snow and spring flooding. So it's just something to keep your eye on.
Well, having said
Sure.
that, I see that our time is rolling on by, and we've been at it for an hour and 20 minutes, would you believe?
Goodness. Yeah.
So we'll wrap, well, something like that. It might be slightly less because I think it continues recording when I put the pause on. But anyway, let's wrap this up. Let's celebrate this Weather Wars International 3rd anniversary. And any last words, Rick?
Yeah, just play the music. Just play the music.
Okay, I'll get that sorted. I'll figure out how to do that, and we'll figure that out. Yeah.
Okay, good show. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Kiwi. I really appreciate it.
I'll get this together, and we'll get it up as over the weekend.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good one.
You too. Good night.
Okay.